Good evening and welcome to the very frigid Tuesday, January 16th, 2024, regular city council meeting. Would you all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Smock. Clements.
Here.
DeWater.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
And Weir.
Here.
Tonight, the approval agenda, before we go into the actual approval, there was a Scribner's error on Resolution 6788. The effective date for the increase due to his third-year police officer, in the actual table, it said effective 7/1/23, but below that, in written copy, it did have the correct date, October 24th, 2023. So I'd like to have a motion for the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tonight, we have with us Dustin Opatz. He is representing Bergen KDV regarding the city's audit.
Beautiful. Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me all right. So, council members, you should have a copy of the PowerPoint I'm going to go through in your packet. Most of the charts and graphs come directly from the communications letter, which is the smaller of the two documents. But we were going to do a verbatim reading of the whole audit report, but figured the charts and graphs might be a little more digestible. So if you have any questions during my presentation, feel free to stop me. I have such a passion for city finance that if nobody stops me, I'll just blow through the entire presentation. So yeah, feel free to stop me and ask your questions. Otherwise, we can catch them at the end too. Either works for me. So the first slide I wanted to go through goes through the various reports that we issue. So the first one being the independent auditor's report, which is the most important report that we issue. It's essentially what you pay us for, to issue an opinion on your financial statements. And so I do like to point out that you as management are responsible for those financial statements, and we're responsible for testing, examining, giving an opinion on those financial statements. So we do give an unmodified opinion, which is the best we're allowed to give as your auditors. It provides assurance that financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. The next report I wanted to talk about is the government auditing standards report. So because of the level of grant activity you receive, we are required to look a little bit closer at your compliance with laws, contracts, grant agreements, and internal controls. And so we do have one finding related to that test work, a lack of segregation of accounting duties related to the small number of city staff. It's the same finding at the same level you received last year from us. And then the last report I wanted to talk through is the Iowa Code of Compliance report. So the Office of the State Auditor gives us a series of checklists looking for compliance with state statutes that they ask us to check. And so we did have one finding related to that test work, and it's related to expenditures exceeding budget in specific functions. So in total, the city's expenditures were within budget, but the state statute is written by function. So if you're thinking public safety, public works, culture and rec. So two of those functions were over budget, I think a total of $1,000 or something. So nothing too concerning, but something we are required to report and communicate to you. The next few slides look at the general fund. So overall, your receipts did exceed your disbursements in the general fund by about $3,000, so not very much movement there. And your general fund overall cash balance increased by $148,000. So one of the things when we're evaluating financial health is if we weren't to take in another receipt, how long could we live off of our cash reserves? And so at the end of the year, your unassigned fund balance of $1.9 million represented 99.4% of expenditures. So you essentially have about 12 months of disbursement sitting in unassigned fund balance. The next page looks at your receipts. So total receipts increased by about 16.4%, or $272,000. Your taxes and assessment receipts were increased related to an increase in your levy. Your use of money and property receipts increased related to an increase in your interest rates. And then you also received cash in the form of transfers from other funds for about $142,000 on top of all On the disbursement side, your disbursements did increase by about 18.7% at $303,000. Almost all of that was in culture and recreation related to a large capital project at the campground. The next two slides look at your enterprise funds, so your sewer sanitation and stormwater. So this first slide looks at your operating income, which is purely operating revenues less operating expenditures. It doesn't include debt service costs, doesn't include capital project costs, or transfers in, transfers out, bond proceeds, any of that good stuff. It's purely, what do we take in it operationally versus what does it cost to run the department, right? So the sewer fund did have an operating income of $556,000, which is a significant increase. So it's that blue bar if you're looking at the chart. So the operating income has increased pretty steadily over the last 5 years, which is great to see. It increased $80,000 related to increased sewer fees. So outside of this operating income, you did have $834,000 of capital costs. You had additional loan proceeds from the state revolving fund of about $480,000, and then transfers in from other funds for about $112,000. And then if you look at the gray bar, that's the sanitation recycling fund. So this year it did have a loss of $85,000, which is a significant decrease, a decrease of about $91,000 from last year. So the loss this year was generated by additional costs related to the yard waste center that weren't included or weren't in there last year. And then the stormwater, this fund has been pretty break even over the years. So the operating income this year was $23,000, which is an increase of $19,000. Last year you had a significant repair maintenance cost related to the First Street drainage project, so that didn't happen again in FY23. So that's what's causing the increase there. The last slide looks at your cash position for your three enterprise funds. So same coloring scheme. The blue bar is your sewer fund. So again, that has increased pretty significantly from its low point in 2019, which is great to see. The stormwater cash balance also has increased slightly. So that's the much smaller gray bar, but still positive, which is awesome. And then the sanitation and recycling funds have been pretty consistent over the last 5 years. So we like to hit on the enterprise funds because in theory, these funds should be self-sufficient. User charges should be enough to cover, operating costs, capital costs, debt service costs. So we like to focus on those. And then the next slide is how you would get a hold of me. I'm here as a resource for all the council members. Anytime you have questions throughout the year, anything I can help you with. But that was everything I had. So, any questions for me?
Well, I had seen in the report that the finding on the segregation of duties, Deanne had answered, we'll do better, try.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the usual response and situation, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you're always trying to evaluate to see if there's additional checks and balances you can add, but at some point you are limited just by the number of people.
Yeah.
Right. So it
And we actually lost that comment when we had the deputy clerk.
right.
Now that we didn't have that position,
Right.
that we haven't had a deputy clerk since January of 21. Actually, no, it was November of 21. Okay. When I took office, we moved the deputy clerk up to the city clerk, and that position was never filled.
Sure.
Let me put it that way.
Yeah, and part of it is a cost benefit analysis, right? Because
Yeah.
Sometimes to have enough people around, like there's not enough work for all of them to stay busy. So it is a cost benefit analysis, but it is more of an acknowledgement as a city council of a smaller city is you might have to look a little bit deeper into things because there might not be adequate segregation, right? So yeah, it's probably a finding that we give to, I'd say 99 to 100% of cities your size. So you're in good company. But yeah, it is something to, just be aware of.
With our cash balance in the general fund being at 99% of an annual budget, would you say that's a very healthy place to be?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Or it should be more, or?
Every city kind of finds its sweet spot, right? Because you know what, you as a city council know better than me, like what's coming down the road, right? Like if you have plans for some of that cash balance to spend on projects or, spend on whatever you'd like to spend it on. The city currently doesn't have a fund balance policy, which is something that we've recommended, that you look at passing, just so you can kind of, decide for yourselves what a comfortable cash position is, because we see anywhere from 25% to 75% as far as like where a city feels comfortable with its cash reserves.
So seeing a city at 99% is not typical?
Maybe not typical, but it's not concerning by any
Okay,
means. I
but
mean,
very healthy.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, like I said, you could essentially run the general fund for nearly an entire year without taking in additional revenue, which is awesome. That's pretty nice. You're right.
And there was some, to ad lib a little bit, there were some projects that did not get completed. One of them was a pretty major project, and that was the boat ramp. That was $352,000 that was budgeted for that. So, but we did take in some revenue for that, about 200 and some thousand, that we weren't expecting anyway. But they said, we really need you to start taking in some of this revenue for this project. I'm like, well, normally we don't do that till we spend some money. But yeah,
Did Bergen do the audit last year?
yes,
And they've done it since the state quit doing it?
yes,
Yeah.
Yes, last year would have been our first year.
Oh, okay.
yep. If there's no other questions for our fun Dustin, we've really enjoyed working with Bergen KDV. They've been a great asset to our city as auditors.
I
So,
appreciate that.
thank you.
Yeah, it's been a great relationship with city
It-
staff as well, so yeah. we
Yeah,
appreciate
it really
all
has.
your work.
We've appreciated just all the comments and, things that we might be able to do better, going forward, so,
Okay, excellent. Well,
yeah.
you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Dustin.
Thanks.
So next on our agenda is item number 6. It is a request from mayor to approve extension of Wright Environmental Garbage Recycling Agreement for an additional 2 years. And we have Alex, he is the manager with Wright Environmental, here to answer any of your questions or concerns. And if you want to step up to the podium, that'd be great. Do you have any questions for Alex tonight?
Well, the obvious question is the recycling from Friday.
So the recycling from Friday is going to be collected this coming Thursday. We had plans to collect it yesterday, but with the cold conditions, our recycling truck didn't start. We did get 2 trash trucks to start, and we're able to finish that service yesterday, so luckily we were able to get that done. Plan is to make up recycling on Thursday, and then again, be back on our normal schedule the following Friday.
How would the average citizen get that information? Assuming-
Well, we did post it first thing this morning when we found out.
Okay,
And, we're gonna be doing things in the future. Actually, we met with a company today, did a webinar with a company today. We're looking for a new website because the company that we're with right now, come July 1st is gonna more than quadruple her price. So we have to look anyway, or stay with them and pay $5,000 a year. So at that point, we found a system that will be more like an Alert Iowa system, that, you can pick and choose how you want to be contacted, email, text, and I see us doing that in the future. But for Wright Environmental's case, I just want everybody to know that they normally post everything on their Facebook page.
okay.
Yeah, I could add
Yeah.
from like Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening through yesterday, or I guess today. I could find it pretty quick on Facebook. so.
On Facebook,
And I
yeah, I didn't
believe-
even think about
I
that.
believe Waterworks posted on theirs as well.
Yeah.
And we try to keep people abreast on the City of Evansdale Facebook page for things like this, so everybody knows. But obviously, not everybody is on Facebook, so we hope in the future that we will have a email or text option for getting immediate news for the city.
I never think of Facebook for important things. But, I'll consider that.
That's how the city uses it,
There's a lot of junk, but
for
yeah.
potent things.
Pretty
City-
good service overall, though.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We try.
I think it's been a great relationship. At the end of June, it will be 3 years with Wright Environmental. It has taken customer service completely off us, because it was almost becoming a full-time position, in the past.
And then Chris
So-
with Public Works too, not having to
And-
swap out cans. and
exactly.
stuff like that, so.
In Public Works as well, they would spend multiple hours per week exchanging cans or replacing wheels, and now Wright Environmental does it all for us.
Yeah, it's pretty quick too.
It is, yep. And very, very good communicators. They keep us posted on what's going on.
Try to.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. More than you know.
Yeah.
I would move to approve the extension
Okay.
with them, with Wright.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Actually, let's do a
Aye.
roll call on that. Sorry.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
and Weir.
Yes.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We
Have a good
appreciate
night.
your service, and we appreciate you coming out tonight in the
bet.
frigid weather.
Thanks, Alex.
You too. Well, for a very special portion of our meeting here tonight, we have Police Chief Dean to honor Officer Womachow with Outstanding Commitment to Excellence Award.
Well, thanks for giving me a few minutes. So each year, we like to try to recognize somebody within our department. First, I guess I'd like to say that I think we have a great group. I think that they all do an excellent job. But once a year, we like to try to recognize somebody that might shine just a little bit more. And this year, Officer Womachow, he's been with us for a few years now. It was pretty quick that we were able to see that law enforcement appeared to be a natural fit for him. He was a quick learner and very outgoing. He accepts criticism well and works to improve upon that. His kindness and compassion I've seen firsthand as he's worked with our community and our citizens, and it's second to none. Officer Womachow is, in my view, as I've seen him grow, he is and continues to become the kind of officer that I think we all hope all officers are. He just does a fantastic job. And so, for those reasons, I chose Officer Womachow to recognize him as Officer of the Year for 2023. And this is a plaque that I put together. I'd like to say that I designed this myself. And it's for outstanding commitment to excellence. Officer
Excellent.
Womachow.
I love it.
You didn't prepare for these.
And I'd also like to say I was able to share the story about the young man that was
Yeah, that was just not too long ago. Yep.
walking down the street with a gal down in Kansas City that is actually involved in an organization to help the people that have psychosis or what have you. And she was so excited about what had transpired and just how that you handled it, because she said it definitely could have went the other direction. So, and she wants to get in touch with this lady again, because there's someone in Iowa that does what she does now in Kansas City.
Very cool.
It was really cool, yeah. So thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as Justin would say, but he's not here tonight, so I'm gonna have to say it for him. You know, when we had our, we amended our union agreement, because some of those officers were, They were, basically, people were looking for them and that kind of officer that actually our city needs. So again, thank you to council and to our city for supporting that increase that we did do back in August of '22, so we can maintain good staff. It's really, really important. I think, I can't say it enough. I say it a lot, but I'm gonna say it again. We have an excellent staff here in the city of Evansdale, from the police department to public works to our city clerk here, our fire department, and, you know, they don't get thanked enough. So keep that in mind when you see them on the street. You know, we have Ryan here tonight with the fire department and their endless hours they work as volunteers. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for what we have in our small city. And I thank you all. So tonight we have Nick Fratsky. He is actually in support of the Waterhawks and is requesting a letter of support for some expansions they're going to be doing this summer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, so I am here with two of the board members from the Waterhawks ski team, Marilyn and Joe Schmitz. If anybody's been past Eagle Lake on Highway 20, you probably noticed that about 1 million tons of dirt have been moved to date. So we kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what's going on and kind of what the future kind of vision is for the Waterhawks. If you're not familiar with the ski team, they've been around since about 1958, correct? Have you guys always been at that location? I guess that's something that I didn't ask. No? Okay, very good to know. But they host during the summer every Friday night in the months of June and July a ski show, and that's free to the public. And then also on Sunday nights in August, right? That lasts an hour long, brings in about 500 visitors per show, and that is kind of what the goal is of the organization is to really bring the shows to the Cedar Valley. So kind of through all of that, they've had the opportunity to host 3 Midwest regional events since, is it 2018, I think? Last 8 years. So the Midwest regionals draw 8 to 10 teams, about 2,000 people per day, and those teams come from Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota. And since hosting those shows, the interest has kind of built to look into attracting the national competitions. Well, the lake wasn't big enough to be able to support those kinds of competitions, so the team kind of worked collaboratively with the NSSA, which is the National Ski Show Association, to figure out what improvements needed to be done to be able to track those competitions and larger competitions in general. So that has led to the expansion that you've seen out there, which is kind of the first 2 phases of that project, with the, kind of the next 2 phases to go towards the west side of the lake, right? And that'll be the addition of another ramp and a little more expansion. So estimated economic impact kind of based on numbers from other groups who have put on these national competitions is about $800,000 for a show. Are those week-long shows or are those 3-day shows too? 3 or 4, yeah, so basically, yeah, a long weekend. And they fill up anywhere from 1,600 hotel rooms to 1,800, that can include campgrounds, and obviously
Yeah.
all of those visitors get hungry and thirsty throughout the day, so they'll come into town and visit, the local establishments. So to date, the Waterhawks have invested about $141,000 in that project, with another almost $400,000 with in-kind donations, between the work and the equipment, the fuel, the hauling of all of that extra dirt, any number of things that it's taking to get to that point. So kind of the goal for the next two phases is to look at grant opportunities. So we are here to request a letter of support from the city to be able to kind of leverage some of those grant opportunities. The first one coming up here will be from the Blackhawk County Gaming Association. So the initial letter of interest to apply, the submission date is the 22nd. We don't need a letter of interest by then. That is basically when they evaluate your initial letter of interest to determine whether or not they will invite you to then apply. So really kind of an informative opportunity to let you guys know what's going on, see if you have any questions, and see if we can get support from the city to kind of forge on. So does anybody have any questions for me or the board?
Do you anticipate being ready for this coming season?
That would be, so I don't know that it would be for this coming season, especially with the way the weather kind of turned on us. With spring hopefully coming sooner than later. Some of that will probably be just kind of tying up the loose ends out there with kind of some of the dirt that's been piled up now and maybe holding off until after this season. Would that be accurate, would you say?
I know the contractor would like to get the project done by the end of the year for sure, because we need to use our lake in the summer. And our goal is to have people from down as far as where they have the national meetings in Florida and such, they come up and they'll watch the show, because in 2026 we'll be able to bid on bringing a national tournament to our location. Last year, we were told that if we could find a way to make it big enough, that we would have a premier site, because we're on a lake. And when we ski around in other states, they're usually on a river. And so you fight the river. And so skiers love coming to Waterhawk Lake here in Evansdale, because you don't have to fight that current. You don't have to fight
Oh, yeah.
other borders as well. Correct?
Probably debris and all the other things that the river can bring along with it too, yeah. And it really is, I mean, it's if you guys haven't been to a show, you should really check it out. It's awesome, it's free, it's a pretty cool thing. It's a very unique attraction, it's something that I think will definitely impact not only the city, but honestly the Cedar Valley as a whole. I mean, bringing that many people into town for events like that. Even just the regionals, I think they estimate about 2,500 to 3,500 individuals coming in for those. So it really will be a premier location. And it is the best free water ski attraction in the state.
Excellent.
Good. Do you still have the commercial boat repair shop out there?
Commercial boat repair?
Yeah.
I don't ever remember having a boat repair out there. We did have a commercial dock service, that a company that we had out there for several years. We ended up getting bought out, but,
Well, it was a number of years ago, but I was sure that we had that discussion at the table, and they were repairing boats, motors essentially.
okay. We outsourced a lot of that stuff. Bellevue Marine, I'm not even sure if they still around or not, but, yeah, we used to take all our, anytime we needed, any repairs done, gel coat, engine work, we outsourced a lot of that. Unless we had somebody in-house who, can do minor repairs and oil changes and things like that, but anything major we outsourced out. We never actually had a repair shop at the lake, that I recall.
Okay.
Across the street, there was a repair shop, and even when that, correct? And he fixed,
Repaired some boat trailers for us at one time, yeah.
correct.
Ms. Parker had a question.
I want to congratulate you on raising $500,000 for your project. That's incredible. I just wonder if this is not a conflict of interest with our own Parks Department. We are in direct competition with them applying for those grants. So I just wanted to ask, the gaming, they only have so many grants to give. We apply for those grants. They have to replace all of our city parks, so I'm
Yeah.
just, with those monies,
Let me look.
valid
I
concern.
think there are different,
Yeah,
there are different pools of funds for,
501c3,
right,
because
for
they would be,
501c3s and
we're a
government
city,
agency.
we would be going in as,
Right.
as a city, and they're going in as a 501c3.
Correct.
So they're looked at completely differently.
It's a different pool of money.
Yes, yep.
Thanks for answering my question.
Of course.
I learned something.
Yeah.
I don't think I was out there, except for at the Halloween thing. I'm not sure if it was this last year or the year before. The one question that comes to mind is, and I could probably answer it by driving by there. Are you doing anything different with the entrance and exit? It just is a little hairy, in my opinion. I mean, with the volume of people that you're talking about having coming, I'm just wondering if you might address the entrance and exit, but that's just my opinion, but.
That's a good, yeah, that's definitely a good question. I wonder, is that city or is that county? Is that that entrance is on? Is it city? Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it is, and it is probably
just
on
on
that
one
side
side.
too, because that's right at the line, isn't it? Right. Yep.
Oh, okay.
I just wonder if it might be looked at, just,
We do have, with this new expansion, there is going to be a very large area for car parking,
sure.
which will help out.
Yeah, it's just kind of bottlenecked right there from my memory. I'm just wondering if, you know, any kind of a situation where people had to get out quick, that might be a little hairy, but,
Yeah, and that's a very good thing for us to even bring up, but with that, there's means now that we have, before you couldn't, once you came to our gate, you had really just the road to go down, and now there's a huge parking area there.
Okay.
because of this expansion.
I'll have to drive by.
Yeah, it's not anytime.
All right.
Well, and if that, it's not really my place to say, but if anybody's interested in coming out and looking at what's been done, I mean, I'm sure that, they'd be happy to have you guys out and take a look at it, because it really is, you have no idea what a million tons of dirt looks like. I mean, it is quite the project, and just the fact that,
I was impressed with how quickly you got the bank restored. They were digging sand for years, and then they finished and it was restored.
Yep.
Pretty impressive.
yeah, they've got a great contractor on that right now.
He's
I
super
mean,
awesome.
BMC is in,
Well, so BMC helped move a lot of the dirt as
Okay.
far as loading it out, but it's Darren Dietz, and he's Dietz Construction, right? Dietz Contracting.
He's a
Yeah.
Waterhawk
Yep.
member.
Yep.
And because of that, he's kind of fulfilling a dream of a fellow that's been a Waterhawk since he was 17. He passed away this past year. And if you look at our website explains a lot. They've just updated it, and they've done a really nice job. And he's on this, and he was, it was one of his dreams, and he had cancer and died last summer. So Darren is actually, I'm fulfilling a dream that Dean always wanted. He was what we called our father of Waterhawks. So it's amazing. Even for our team members that are coming out there, it looks so different. You can always give me a call, anybody a call, because we do have our gate locked. But now there's been so much work out there, when there's work out there, we just get it open in the day for everybody in and out. But if not, we do secure. Because we put nothing.
Yeah, right.
So we secure it with our chain link fence.
Well, excellent. So a motion to provide a letter of support, please?
I'd make that motion.
I'd second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You can count us for a letter of support.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You betcha.
Yep.
Thanks for
you all.
coming,
Guys,
letting us
you
know
bet.
what's going on.
Yep.
Nick is doing so much work for us and trying to help this get through.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys know Nick, so you know what kind of.
Yes, we know Nick. Yes, we do. He helps us a lot with intercog and projects.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you betcha.
And I can help draft that up too.
Yes, please. Yeah, yeah, we can talk about it tomorrow.
Great.
Okay.
Be safe, everybody, and warm and all the things, and thank you.
You as well.
Thank you, Marilyn. Good to see you again.
Well, the room's really cleared out.
Okay, we have next on our agenda is public discussion. Anyone that would like to address the council and the mayor, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address. You can come up to the podium. Yeah, that would be, yep.
I'm sure you're gonna only give me about 3 minutes, so I'm gonna ask.
That is exactly right.
And I'm gonna ask some questions, and maybe you can answer the answers afterwards, because, my understanding is, good faith, for good faith, you gave 8% raise to the street department effective January 1st. And then, last year, the same contract, you gave them a 3% raise and increase plus a bonus. And that's what I want to know, if that is fact too. And when this contract is due, the other question I want to ask is this 8% going to be part of that new contract? Because that comes up, what, in this year it comes up?
This is
Okay.
correct.
That's another question I want, and I want to know where these wages are going to come from. In other words, somebody, you're probably going to tell me it's the road use tax first, and then it'll come out of the general fund when that gets, no? Okay, well, then you can answer that when I get done here too. And this business about signing a contract, I do not understand why you would be doing this when the contract is up. You sign a contract, and it is a good faith between the city and the workers that you're signing that contract with. If they don't like that contract in that amount of time, they shouldn't have signed the contract to begin with. I realize you're gonna say, well, we need to keep would help. But if the same thing were to happen, if things happen where the economy went bad and everything else, and the city didn't have that cash, you think when you go to the workers in these different departments and say, hey, we're gonna give you an 8% cut in your pay, you know that ain't gonna happen. So, I mean, I think this business, we need to stick with the contract that they have, and when it comes up, if they don't like their jobs, I mean, they can move on. There's always the possibility that things can be contracted out. You know, we can't afford to pay some of the prices that the big cities pay. We're a small city. We don't have that tax revenue to pay out for that kind. But like I say, and then if you're going to give it to the street department, how's the police department and the fire department going to feel about that when the other ones get 8% and they get nothing? I need some answers on that, I really do.
Well, we already addressed the police department back in August of 2022. At that time, council had said that they were going to address public works because your CPI went from 3%, which was traditional in the Midwest, to over 8%. They weren't willing to give public works any kind of incentive. They did not increase the public works. They have not received any kind of an increase besides what was in their contract, which back in 2020, before the pandemic and everything went crazy in our country, they had negotiated only a 2.75% increased
But they
annual.
negotiated it.
Now it's my turn. You asked the question, I'm giving the answer.
Okay.
So it was negotiated 2.75%, which if you think about it, over the past 3 years, was nowhere near even what your annual expenses were. How, even in the Midwest, right now, we're down to 3.2%. And it was long overdue. Do we want to keep the fine employees we have? Absolutely. And this council have already agreed to that. We agreed to it at our last meeting on January 2nd. Tonight, we'll just approve because we have to have it in hard copy.
Yeah, what good is a contract? What good is a contract if you're gonna do this? Why do you even worry about a contract, period?
John, who can explain a pandemic? Who can explain your daily expenses going up 8%? Some of them have come down. It's not $5 for a dozen eggs anymore. It's not $6 for a pound of hamburger. They've come down slightly, but we're still paying it.
Yeah, so then I'm gonna ask you another question then, and I have a very good idea. What's the average pay for the employee for the street department?
Well, right now, the average pay is 24.
24. Then add what, how many dollars for health insurance? How many dollars for this?
Some of them don't even take
Diapers?
health insurance, John. You
That's
can't
your
say,
option.
you can't say as a whole.
No. The only thing I can say is if everyone knew that you guys were going to come into session on the first time that we had after you changed council and everything else and going to raise wages 8%, I have a feeling there's several of you people wouldn't be sitting here right now. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Kelly Parker, Marion Avenue. Like John said, at the last meeting, the entire council unanimously voted to give our city workers an 8% raise. There was no resolution included in the agenda notes for the citizens to read. We were left in the dark about the details about that decision. We really couldn't form an opinion without the details and talk to our council members about it. My councilman's phone number was not posted on the city's website prior to that meeting. I had to find it on the county website. Furthermore, the council had their whole meeting, went into executive session and asked everyone to leave. They said, we'll flick the lights, you can come in when we're ready for you to come back in. And then they voted to give them the raise. That kind of appears to the public like they didn't really want an audience for that vote, whether that was their intention or not. I feel disappointed. I expect more transparency from our city government, especially about the resolution not being in the packet. My councilman, Adam Morris, says that the funds will come from the road use tax. I want all of us to know that we pay 31 cents per gallon at the pump every time we pay for road use tax. It's your money. I expected that Evansdale should use every cent of the road use tax money we have to fund the Lafayette project. All the estimates for the options we have for Lafayette are between $2.1 million and $5.5 million. We're getting some of our other tax money from the DOT and maybe the feds, but we're still on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars. We don't know, and we want to fix West Gilbert as well. We want a boat. Some people want a boat dock. We want to spend a lot of money we don't have. The DNR forced us to renovate our wastewater treatment plant, and our water bills are going to go up. My councilman last session told me my bill is going to go to $300 quarterly. When I moved here, it was $164 for the minimum. I don't waste water. And I really want to encourage the council to spend wisely. You did not earn all of that tax money. It's not your money. It's our money. Please be responsible. Put the brakes on the spending. Only spend
Thank
it
you,
where
Ms.
we need it.
Parker.
Is that 3 minutes?
It is.
Thank you for your time.
You betcha.
All I can add to that would be, I feel that we did spend wisely here. People are your biggest investment in running a city. So if you don't invest in them, then you don't have good ones. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate your comment on Facebook. Thank you for answering my questions.
Anytime.
Number 10 is approval of the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11, boards and commissions. We had one that we had appointed early, that we actually couldn't appoint. They had come into the office, Municipal Housing Authority, and decided that they did not want to be reappointed. Karen Adams has stated that she would be a part of Municipal Housing Authority Board. And like a motion on that, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 12 is approval of the resolution calendar. I'll take a motion to approve the resolution calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please. Misty?
Smough, or Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Weir.
Yes.
Number 13 is Resolution 6789, setting date of public hearing to approve the sale of city property.
So moved.
Second.
That's
Second.
the amendment. We sent an amendment out yesterday afternoon. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I
moved and
seconded
seconded.
Oh, who seconded it? Oh, okay. I thought he first did. Roll call.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
and Weir.
Yes.
Number 14 is Resolution 6790, approving the development agreement with BC Mach 3 LLC.
I move passage, excuse me, passage of resolution 6790.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Clements,
Yes.
DeWater,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Weir.
Yes.
Number 15, request from Public Works to schedule crack sealing with Klusner Construction in the amount of $46,849.84 as budgeted for FY '24. We actually had, and you saw the different places that they're going to be working at. We did actually budget $50,000 for that this year. So the actual work they're going to do is going to be about 46.8, so.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 16 is council to consider hiring a deputy city clerk. As I had stated earlier, we actually did lose the segregation of duties when we were doing our state audit because we did have people in place to segregate the duties of the city. And like I also stated, we haven't had a deputy city clerk since November of '21. I started as a deputy city clerk for the city, and we've had a deputy city clerk, I'm going to say just easily probably since the late '70s, early '80s. The deputy city clerk serves a very important function for the city. She's the first city that, or he, is the first face that the city sees. They handle all the pet licensing, they handle all the building permits. They handle all the boards and commissions, agendas, putting all that together. They actually do accounts payable, they do accounts receivable. It allows the city clerk to have time to do what her job is, and that's the financial portion of the city. And she also oversees that deputy clerk position. There's several things the city isn't doing because we don't have a deputy city clerk, because we simply just don't have the time. There's two of us doing this. I'm, as the mayor, is doing more of the financial portion of the city clerk, and the city clerk is doing more of what the deputy clerk used to do. So, there's several things. Last year, we didn't get a newsletter out because of lack of time. There's only so many hours in a day, and a lot of us are working at home. We're salary, as myself, and doing the work that needs to be done so we can catch up on it or just maintain some kind of a level. We work those hours at home. We started the sump pump pit examinations throughout the city. We pretty much got the northern half of the city done, and we haven't been able to continue through because, again, it's very heavy. You're taking, first of all, just sending out all the letters to the residents in each of the block that we do at the time. And then from that point on, you're getting several phone calls. I can't tell you how many on a day, but several, to schedule all those appointments. That's just one example of one of the things that is not being done in the city that should be done. I can give you several more. There's, you know, two people it's hard pressed to do a three-person job.
Would this be a full-time or a part-time position?
Well, and that's been asked, and, you know, it had always been a full-time position. We'll take anything we can get at this point.
Is there enough workload that you could keep somebody busy full-time?
Well, you can ask our new city clerk.
There's enough. I don't think you guys realize probably how much time she spends at home working, doing my job, because I can't. She hasn't even had time to train me on certain things, because I'm doing city clerk, and how much my day is interrupted by, you know, somebody to come in and get a pet license, it might take 2 minutes to type up, but they're there for 10 minutes, you know, or the phone calls. Probably 50 phone calls yesterday alone on recycle
Sure.
Uh,
cards.
Well, and as the gentleman from Bergen pointed out, you know, having that extra layer of the checks and balances, it is good. So I can see.
Having worked across the counter for many, many years on the waterworks side, the deputy clerk is always busy. Always.
Yeah, I mean, it was a function that, like I said, the city had for, you know, upwards of 40 years. And all of a sudden, it's just like, we're just dealing with no one, you know? Like she just said, the phone calls is one of the most important things.
And I think we talked on the phone, this is a position that we've budgeted for continuously.
Yeah.
And just haven't had to pay it out.
Right.
Okay, so it's not an added expense that the city's
No,
taking on, it's something
no,
we
it's not
counted on
added
paying for and
expense.
we've been getting
It
by
was-
without.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
They also serve as a backup body when one of these two
sure.
hopefully go on vacation.
Well, I can-
So that
I
there's
can-
not one person doing everything.
I can definitely relate when you got few people working, somebody goes away. It's tough.
And this person would be, if everything worked out, eventually taking over as deputy clerk, right? If you retired or
Is
moved
city
or,
clerk down the road. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
I mean, she
We
would
trying to push
slowly.
her out the door already?
ultimately,
No.
we're not even looking that far in the
These
future.
winters, it's not gonna be.
No, but if you were unavailable for whatever reason, you know, for
Yeah.
weeks, months at a time.
Yes.
There would be somebody that could conceivably
Yes.
step in and,
Actually, that's code. It says in the city clerk position, the city clerk shall be at every city council meeting. You know, she has a life, she gets vacations as well.
Well,
You
and
know,
I think
that,
of the 2 conferences, the week-long conferences alone that I
Yeah.
have to be at the next 4
Sure.
years, you know,
yep,
which puts everything back on there.
I think back to when you had your accident,
yeah,
you know, that could have gone horribly wrong.
yeah, right.
So probably the real challenge will be finding that individual.
Yep,
Like everybody these days.
yeah,
Yep,
They're not standing in line.
no,
Yeah.
I trust you would have a process for that, so.
yes, yep, we do. Yeah, that we know how to do,
Okay.
for sure.
I would make a motion to hire a deputy clerk.
And are you thinking part-time, or are you thinking full-time?
You know, it's hard to say when you need the help, so full-time is what my motion would be.
Okay.
I second it.
All in favor?
All right?
Aye.
Opposed? So tonight, FY '25 budget discussion, we'll be discussing public safety. We've put together for you kind of some budget notes, just to talk with you about the police budget, fire budget, animal control, building inspection. We also want to address, did everyone get one of these? Yeah. Yeah, you put it all together. We also want to address the Sump Pit project as part of our rehabilitation of a long-awaited project, and that is the Community Response Center, water issues in the basement. We had gosh, what was it? Chris, would you remember our guys, 2021, that we had the last flood? Because 2022 was not bad and 23 was a drought. Do you remember if it was 21 or 22?
I can't say I remember exactly, but.
Okay. So anyway, it's just never been dealt with. There's mold and everything else growing down there. We have our, I always call it our forensic office down there with all of our evidence. And, you know, our people, our employees have to deal with that, that evidence down there. So it's not like we can't not deal with the issue. It's been, you know, brought to council several times, and we need to deal with it going forward at one point. I have talked to Dick. If you look in your packet, you'll see the sump pit project for the Community Response Center. And it's, like on the back page, you'll kind of see like a drawing of what he's anticipating. We would go out to bid for this project. He's anticipating on what would need to be done. The problem is we just don't have the capacity currently we have two sump pump pits currently, but when in a heavy flood event, that basement, just to give you a little history, that was built in 2004, was built on literally a branch of the Cedar River. So, and we've had Terracon look at it. People went swimming there. Is that correct? In that area?
Yeah, well, I don't know, it's an old dump, but,
Okay. But there was
what I
also
was
a
told,
waterway
also
through
done.
there.
yeah.
That's what I've been told. This is what people in the community have told me. Anyway, and waters seeps, you know, its own level, so it's gonna seep. The basement is deeper than anything in that whole area, so it's gonna seep the least resistance, and that's where it goes when we have heavy rainfall. Again, we haven't had to worry about it for the last couple summers, but you know that won't last forever. That's just part of this budget talk. We would, you know, Dick, if you want to speak on it at all, or what you thought we might want to do going forward, that would be great.
Who
Well,
came up with this plan?
What's that?
So
Whose
if,
plan is this?
This is Dick's plan.
if everyone's been down there, you know what the situation is.
Yeah.
It's, I think you could walk across that floor and the rusty dust would come up, literally.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
Yeah,
And as you pointed out, Deanne, we've been lucky the last couple of years.
yes.
And I believe I didn't want to say this, but it's probably a health hazard when there's water there, obviously. So I've agreed to kind of take the lead on this as far as getting it contracted and inspected. I am going to talk to Steve Santamaro.
Yeah,
And see what he thinks about the plan.
okay,
But we've had all kinds of proposals on this, wild ones. And I think we're just gonna have to go old school with sump pits and high-capacity pumps.
especially since we have the retention on the exterior of the property, that just to take that water and get it out there. We have that, you know, the two retention areas at
And
the,
on
on the
this
grounds.
amount, you had built in some cleanup and repairing that
yes,
drywall or wall
yeah,
surfaces.
yeah, right.
Has there been any tests to find out if there is any hazardous in the environment? I mean,
Well, it actually, this,
I mean,
you
I don't
know,
know if
this was
it's
a
a simple thing
concern.
that we can have Servpro come over and run a quick test or something, but I don't know.
You know, go ahead, Ryan.
You can visually see mold on the walls down there.
Okay,
There's no need
Okay.
for a test.
fair enough.
Well, so radon.
So have-
I don't know if we've checked for radon though.
Okay,
Yeah.
have mitigation costs been factored into that with what we're seeing.
I believe they are, at the end in
I
that
mean, I would
estimate.
imagine all the
Well,
walls have
and
to be
this is,
scrubbed
you know,
with
these are
bleach
all
and
just preliminary.
something. I mean,
That's,
it's gonna
Dick
be-
had thought that to do the mitigation and to install the pumps, it would be somewhere around the 35,000 total project cost. Again, that is a guesstimate, you know, we would have to have contractors preview the site and bid on it, you know, but that's something that we're looking, you know, to have completed in FY '25.
Yeah, because any contract would have to come before the council, so
Yes,
we have another chance to really take a good look at this.
right, yep,
And just for a refresh, when was the CRC built?
2004.
Or-
Okay, okay, so we're 20 years old, okay.
I
And this
mean,
problem has been going on since 2008 or prior to 2008?
Maybe before, maybe at least 2008.
Okay, did you have an extreme problem? 2008, it was really bad, because everybody had water.
we've joked about filling it in,
Yeah,
filling the basement in. And actually, it wasn't really a joke. Because when it's flooded, it's totally unusable.
You know, it's a good space, if we could get this under control, you know, it'd be a good usable space. There's gym equipment down there, our evidence room is down there, and just to give you an idea of the amount of concern and the level of concern with this, not to minimize some cases versus others, but some of our most important cases that involve outside agencies like the DCI have expressed concern, and that evidence has been moved out of there because of this situation.
I was just about to say, are there any requirements that they have, that they place upon you for keeping evidence, you know, humidity?
There aren't necessarily requirements, you know, obviously in a court of law, they want to know that our evidence is secure and kept.
Right, you would think it'd need to be kept in the best condition it can be, so.
Right. Like I said, as far as some of our most important cases, the integrity of that evidence is paramount. And, so that's for that reason, that stuff had to be moved out of there just for fear of it being affected.
and we did check with, you know, there was concerns too, if it was getting into the air system, you know, and carrying throughout the building. And I, you know, was able to confirm with Air Services that no, the type of heating system that they have there, it's dry. And that actually adds to the issue of the basement when you get water. You know, it's, to the point where, you know, maybe in the future, we would need to have dehumidifiers going. We would need to have the lighting system that would stop that from happening, from growing mold or whatever, because there is no air down there. It's not transferring, it's definitely not up to the rest of the building, but they do have to go down there, so, you know, it's, and then the unfortunate part, believe it or not, I checked into maybe even getting it filled in, but that, it would cost a fortune, probably at least $100,000, $200,000 to replace that heating unit, even though that heating unit has been a pain in our
Side.
side.
You guys use that for storage also, right?
Yep.
Both departments,
The fire department does,
equipment
yep,
and,
yep. Anyway, food for thought is just an item that it's not actually in our budget paperwork here, but I just wanted you to be aware that that is something that we need to start considering and moving forward on. And for something you to consider, you know, if you, Dick actually did say at one council meeting in years past, just fill the basement in and, you know,
Yeah, no. we were
the
just
bad part
joking.
about that is you'd have to build an outside building for the things that are necessary.
Well, and so just full disclosure, I'm not guaranteeing that this will do it, but it's a start, because we've talked to engineers out with Bolton Mink.
Yeah, yeah.
And his suggestion is this is the place to start, and you may have to add more pits and pumps if you want to keep that basement somewhat dry. So,
I was told back when that was built by some people that were in there, you know, said that they'd have to drain Myers Lake before they'd ever get the water people coming in that basement. They said that building should have never been built with basement.
And I'm in agreement.
They had their minds made up, and that's exactly what they did.
And then to build it as the deepest basement in that portion of the city,
Then put in a system that no one knew how to use for the,
yeah.
got the city water instead of having their own wells, which cost the city a fortune through the years. It was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable.
Now we got a baby and we gotta take care of it.
Threw it out with a wash.
In agreement, yes.
so I had a question on the security system.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, we had actually started discussing security systems back in, gosh, I want to say probably maybe 6 months ago to a year, about putting security in at City Hall. And then during that process, you know, it was brought forward that by Justin and both Chief Phillips and Chief Dean, that they've needed their system replaced down there for quite some time.
Are
So,
we talking just a camera system?
yeah, it's just a camera system, right? Yeah, just a camera system. So, you know, we have Justin in his absence, but he is looking through the proposals, because we have received proposals from both for Evansdale City Hall as well as Community Response Center, and just kind of trying to see what the best fit is gonna be and what with the least amount of cost. So, you know, initially there was talk about security cameras and such like that up here. What they need them down there for is a different reason than up here. I think up here, we can simply put a keypad on the back door, except when we're having an open meeting, for employee access, because that was the issue that kind of started this. Someone had came in early in the morning, had left their big, huge suitcase outside the door, and was utilizing our facilities. Well, we had no idea who this person was, and he had been here for quite some time in the men's restroom. Well, that got kind of blown up, you know, like telephone. Hey, did you hear it happen at City Hall? And it kind of got blown up, and we started talking about having cameras here. And for me, for City Hall, cameras are good to find out who did it when we're done. I don't know if they're a necessity. The chief actually stated that it would be more beneficial for us to have, for the library, waterworks, and city administration, to have like a panic button that would automatically contact the police department, and then to lock access to that door, because no one can see who's coming in that door from anywhere in this building until they're already at your door. So. The other thing is, you know, we are gonna be starting negotiations, beginning this Friday. We, you know, right now, just for budgeting purposes, I just plugged in 3% for the police department, just to have something to start with. And they, like I said, again, they did get a substantial increase back in August of 2022. Right now, the, what do you call that? Is it CPI? I can't, what does it stand for, Sandy?
Cost of living rate?
Yes, thank you.
COLA.
Is at 3.2% in the Midwest.
3.3?
3.2, yes. Quite a decrease from the past 3 years. Also, the heat pump, we've, for the last 4 years, have replaced a heat pump at the community response center, updating the, heating, cooling system. And that's gonna be a little bit more this year. It's been running us about 3,000. For, excuse me, for fire and 3,000 for police. Now it's gonna be about, $3,669 for each department.
And we have to replace that
They
every
share
year?
that. Yeah. So the heat pumps are only good for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
We started replacing them 4 years ago. And so we only have 2 more to replace, so this year, next year. And then probably wait a couple years and start replacing them all over again. Ironically, have you ever been in the basement of the community response center?
No.
Okay. I would love for you to go see this monstrosity
I plan to.
of a unit that we have down there.
I'd like to see the conditions there as well.
Yeah. I actually asked Dan with Air Services. Air Services has been the only company that has been able to work on this beast. And I'm not even kidding when I call it a beast. Go ahead. Oh. But it's, you know, it's the system. It's not a system that you'd probably put as a city, using city water. Dick, what is it called? Bio what? What kind of system is it called?
Geothermal.
Geothermal.
I'm
It's
familiar.
geothermal.
I'm familiar.
Okay.
My dad's got it.
Okay. They're very
Alright.
expensive when they start to break down.
Well, I can imagine using it in a commercial setting is not cheap. I know how much residential stuff is.
I mean, you know, he said if you ever really were serious that, you know, you'd have to do a 5-year plan, you know, if you wanted to shut down that system and go with rooftop, it would be a 5-year plan because it would be that expensive too.
Well, and, yeah, I mean, John made a good point about that system be in trouble right from the start.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to go back to
No,
living in the past, but
no, you're right.
I was so disappointed that the council didn't want to pursue legal action against the engineer that designed it. Because we had like 5 years, but nobody felt like that was a good idea. So we're stuck with it. 5 years are past, long past, and we have it's working all right now.
We've had a lot of problems with it. I mean, you know, someday, I don't know. I don't know someday what someday means, but someday we might have to do something different. So, and that's probably pretty much it. We did reduce our education and training budget for the police department down to 2,500. We increased that back up to 6,000. We had used it traditionally in the past for buying ammunition and training. But there's training we've been missing out on for years. So we needed to increase that back to where it was in the beginning. As you can see, we're already at 4892 for this year. Because there's a lot of training that they need to do. We have, you know, quite active group right now that are getting the training that they need to be getting to handle some of these situations that are happening in today's times. And Jordan could attest to that. Vehicle equipment repair, we just bumped that up just marginally. Most of the other expenses on the police side are just like within 3%. Some are just a little bit less than that. Our dispatch contract, actually, you could see it's not real substantial because the radio access fees actually went down this year for police and for fire. There's nothing you see that's like a huge increase. on their budget at all, but these items will be added to that, once we get the costs on those items to do these, the ones I have on the budget notes. And I'm open to questions at any time if you do have questions.
So your figures here don't include the
They
items
do
we
not.
just went over?
No. So on the emergency, I'll just go on, and anything that you have questions on,
Okay.
please let me know. Emergency management, that just covers our siren maintenance, and that also covers our professional fee to emergency management. They're actually putting aside some money that if we'd really have like a big hazardous type spill or whatever that we had to call the hazmat team out for, EMA is actually setting some funds aside that they have in reserves. I just thought that was pretty cool that they're doing that. So I don't have the final number on that one yet, but I should within a couple weeks, because we're working on that budget for emergency medical, emergency management. It's not listed on here, but I did list it on your budget notes. The fire chief, who has been with us for this year in your 9th year right now, because you were appointed in 2015, so you are in your 9th year now. Has not received an increase since he took that position. Ryan oversees the full-time paramedic. He also oversees the whole volunteer fire department. He does their payroll, he does their, I believe you do all the scheduling for the,
Most of it, some,
Mo-
yeah.
okay,
Me and, yeah, full-time medic, we kind of help each other out on that.
yeah, okay. As well as take ambulance calls, take fire calls, do the training, help with the training. He has a lot on his plate, and I would like to see his position increased by 2,500.
And you're looking for that in the coming year?
Yes. It's not stated on there now. These are just side notes of just things that, I sit down with, Misty and I sit down with the different departments to talk about their budget. He didn't ask for it, but it's something that has been brought up to me.
I personally want to thank you for your devotion, Ryan.
Yeah.
Can't be too many people that say they haven't had a raise in 9 years.
Yeah.
Grossly overlooked.
It has been grossly overlooked. Then we just talk about the heat pump for the fire side, their shared security system, their share. And I'm sure we'll be working with both fire and police when we're reviewing that system. The Sun Pit project, of course, would be their share. It's not gonna be 35,000 for both, that will be shared between both the police and fire. Ryan had sent an email out. One of the things he forgot to mention during our conversation is a turnout gear washer. It's called actually Extractor 22 turnout gear washer. They average anywhere from 6,000 to 9,000. I saw him online for around 6,000, and he said the initial quote he got was about 9,000, so.
Yeah, and Travis had called me at the store there, and, I called my Rapid Speed Queen.
Oh.
And he said that they do exist, but I don't have access to them through them. He said he's known a lot of smaller fire departments using what they call their classic series, which is, it's an old workhorse, but, I mean, you're doing like one at a time. And I don't know how many of those extractors can do at a time, but I'm sure it's more than one. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
One you sent me, I think, did 4.
Oh, okay, so the one you're looking at did 6 at a time?
Oh, it's been, yeah,
Okay,
up to anyway.
How often do those need to be,
after
Clean.
every event.
Anytime we go on call, that's
okay, so every single, okay.
bad stuff.
And right now, we have a lot invested. What do we invest in, just when we invested in uniforms, coats and pants and,
Probably boots, coat, probably $4,000 maybe.
So what are
yeah,
you guys currently
A
using
set.
to clean them? Just a regular washer?
yeah.
And it's come pretty standard for most departments to switch over to the extractors.
And it also saves the wear and tear on their gear. So they do have an expiration date, but you don't have to replace them until they expire. So, but sometimes they expire before that just because of washing them in a unit that's
Well,
not
and
made
yeah,
for.
if you have an overfilled washing machine, it's hard on the machine, it's hard on the clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We also, we're really need to start talking about doing a capital improvement plan, and start budgeting for long-term expenditures. We will need a new ambulance, and that's upwards of 300 to 350,000. That's something we need to start putting money aside for. Our newest one is 14 years old, and the other one is a 2002. Okay, so the 2002 is already 22 years old. Just from a safety standpoint, we've had some issues with our ambulances this year. They're on a call. Matter of fact, there's a nice little groove in the ambulance entry at Allen Memorial Hospital as the hub. Was it the wheel that completely broke off, or?
Tire glue,
Yeah, tire blew in the,
wrapped with a bunch of stuff on the inside.
yeah. But wasn't that related to something else?
Not sure what.
Okay. So anyway, they're just items that we need to start looking at future things so we could take a certain amount of budget per year and set it aside for those. We were looking at doing that years ago, and we never got around to it. But working as a team to put a capital improvement plan together, you have to do that to set aside funds for projects that we need funding for in the future. Any questions so far?
Not quite yet.
Okay. Well, you're not a very talkative group tonight.
The budget, when is the final budget going into where we vote on this?
We'll have these workshops for, we're going through public safety, then we'll go through public works, and maybe we'll go through public works and, city hall, because, we're a small portion of the budgets.
Okay.
So, but I just want to, get our initial talks going. Sometimes it's helpful to, budget, do our budget workshops before the meeting. If everyone can meet like at 5 o'clock instead, is that,
Possibly.
because then, you have a whole hour to just go through it, and if you do have any questions or concerns, just, going forward, moving it forward. Building inspection, I'm just, we have an agreement with our building inspector, that is our code enforcement officer as well. It's 65% of the building inspection. So he is also paid an hourly rate when he's doing code enforcement and when he is doing, that he may be doing, not inspections, but when he's doing code enforcement. He's not getting any kind of an increase. I just want to let you know that's what his budget looks like. We you know, we're planning on 43,000. Because like this year, we're already at 30,750, but we had the whole huge thing with the roofs from the hail damage. So, but I know that we have future projects that are coming forward with, you know, some of the sale of the city property. So you're gonna see more of that, you know, moving forward, but I think we would be safe to budget that at this time. Animal control, I did, factor in a 3% increase for that department. They haven't received an increase since, Chris, when was the last time we did an increase for animal control? 2021.
When we brought Alcron on.
Okay. 2021, and we're looking actually at that as well. You did already discuss with Outrun that there was gonna be an increase in their agreement with us.
That's about the extent of it.
Okay. We'll discuss that more when we visit about your portion of the budget. Other health and social services, those are just, standard costs. Met Transit went up a little bit this year, which is pretty general for them. They usually about 3%. They handle all of our, it's actually a para transit. So our handicapped people within our city. Really not much with that. Other health and social services, library, this is, the numbers that they got to me. They also had stated they want to start putting, it's not in here at this time, but they want to start putting $2,000, like planning for new computers again, because when they bought their computers last year, it was just a big chunk of money. So they don't want to be in the position, right now, we have seven computers over there that are used on a daily basis. They don't want to be in a position that it has to come out of one whole year. They want to be in a position where they can start setting money aside every year to make that purchase. Because generally speaking, it's every 5 to 6 years that you would do your computer replacements. Last page, that's just the employee benefit side of it. That is funded through LOST, as well as our insurances. I did send that email out to you today to talk to you about insurance, what to expect, what kind of increases to expect this next year, just as overall. That's statewide, that's countrywide.
Yeah, the numbers,
Yeah,
it's shocking, but it's everywhere. I mean,
yeah,
my brother, you know, being an insurance agent, I'm hearing it
Yeah.
all the time, you know.
yeah,
Rates are just going crazy and
They are.
the
well.
the requirements that they have are getting more strict as well, and it's nuts.
Yeah, some of the contractors that came in this year, and they were gonna replace roof and siding from the hailstorm we had in June, and it was upwards of $45,000. I remember buying a house for less than that, a whole house, you know? So, yeah, it's extreme at its best, but I feel sorry for these insurance companies if that's what they're paying out. Used to be able to get a roof done for what? $1,500 all day long? You're a contractor, you know these things, right?
Yeah,
And some of those prices we've seen on permits this year.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, the permits that have went through here, that just, what these folks are, these are insurance companies the insurance companies are giving the homeowner the name of who they want them to deal with.
they've got to control cost somehow.
$45,000 doesn't seem like controlling cost to
Yeah.
me. So we'll go over Public Works next. Maybe Dick, if you want to reach out to a couple of the contractors that you know, that maybe to look at the project.
Yeah, do we want to formalize the whole procedure? I mean,
Well, I do, but I didn't know, you kind of stated that you wanted, you were gonna have some of them look at it,
Yeah.
so,
yeah. Well, I kind of thought that if we had formal bid documents
okay,
put together, we'd just do a contractors meeting.
okay.
I'd like to know from somebody that is an expert on the water coming back in, what percent of certainty we can be told that any kind of fix is going to work.
Anyway,
Any kind of fix is going to work. Because we dumped this money,
yeah.
and you still got water issues, and you just spent all that money, and, yeah, that's not a good thing, so.
No guarantees.
Well, but we gotta have some kind of certainty.
I
Well,
get it.
so I've been in the masonry business for 40 years, done a lot of foundation work, and I'm very familiar with that whole groundwater issue. No way would I guarantee anything.
I'm not saying 100% guarantee, but we gotta have some kind of, engineer look at it or something
Well,
saying,
we-
well, if you do this, this will work.
We've been down that road, and no one's willing to.
How many engineers do you suppose you've had look at that over the,
Every single one of
Was
them
it?
we've had on staff.
Well,
half a dozen?
We've had several plans from engineers that they're proposing could work, but not one of them would ever say with any kind of certainty.
But we did have, I will say this, we did have our Terracon rep come out here, and he did a presentation for council. I'd be happy to have him come back, because what he said is, you're never, ever gonna mitigate that water there. He says, what you have to do is you have to prepare for the water, and you have to have a way to get rid of the water once it comes. So, but he did a presentation, and I'd be more than happy to welcome him back.
Yeah.
He was
you
from
know, the
Terracon,
only-
which they do that.
The only
I mean, if,
method that I had heard was even close to being foolproof was putting wells around the whole perimeter of the building that would pump water outside of the building into a line that goes over to the storm sewer or Myers Lake. And, a couple $100,000. But that was the only method that they even thought would
I mean, if
possibly.
we could at least, just know that it's going to at least reliably get the water that does come out, and with maybe a small dehumidifier, keep the
Yeah.
room, controlled for the delicate evidence and things like that. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you wanna make sure it's done right and meet the needs of what they have there, so. There's a lot of what ifs there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And anybody who's worked around that problem knows that it is a slippery problem. It really is. And I certainly won't be offended if you want to bring other people in. This is just my opinion based on experience.
Yeah.
And dealing with the engineers. Bolton Mink was one
yes,
3 years ago.
yeah.
He looked at it and he said, yeah, I don't know. He said, why don't you just do it yourselves? And that's how we got back to this. That, designing the pit and the pumps, that's not a rocket science. What we weren't sure about and aren't completely sure about is how adequately the floor is tiled. Because that's part of it. We have the prints with the tile plan on it, but it's so broad, it's so general. I guess Jeff was over there. That all we could do is hope, and that's what this plan is based on, the assumption that it's adequately tiled under the floor. So that's,
Fair enough.
Yeah, kind of where
I hope
we're
I
at.
didn't offend you
No, no, no,
by
no,
saying
no.
I'd like to know somebody who
No,
knows what they're
you're-
talking about, you know?
You're doing your job.
Okay, we'll wrap that up for tonight. Would you be open to meeting at 5 on the 6th of February to do the budget portion of our meeting first?
I would.
I'm checking.
That's fine.
I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. Mayor council reports?
So I just had a quick question. Is the proposed development at Eagles Landing public knowledge yet?
It's in the resolution.
Yeah, what?
It's in the resolution.
Okay,
Yeah. So what Dick asked is if it was public knowledge, we're having, setting the date of a public hearing to approve the sale of city property on February 6th. That is Quickstar. Quickstar is purchasing 7 lots from us as they're going to put in a truck center at Eagles Landing. The other one is, purchase agreement has already been approved. We're just approving the development agreement, and that's with Peterbilt. And they have purchased 3 lots, and they're gonna be on the furthest east end of Eagles Landing Development. So, good things are
excellent,
happening.
just
And I
excellent.
have something to show you after the meeting
Okay.
about another possibility.
I think the Quick Star is the most encouraging one.
The Quick Start is really encouraging. Between the two, it's gonna be over, close to $9 million. So.
Well, and the other-
In building,
Businesses that will just, I think, naturally
yes,
follow Quick Star.
yep. I agree with you.
And you said that was gonna be on that section of Bruskin land, a lot of it.
No, just that much of
Oh, just that,
Brusker's land. Just where it impedes Doris Drive.
Okay,
Yep. Yep. And we get that land in exchange for, Quick Start, so. It's a really great deal for the city.
It's a really
that's
great
for sure.
deal.
So I'll take a motion to adjourn if you don't have any questions,
I will move
comments,
to adjourn.
concerns?
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?